So it's idea of this company. When 8 years ago in Russia I became a parent, so my first baby, the marketing of clothes look like this. So you can see ugly and low quality and premium and expensive. So entrepreneurs think like something wrong here or something doesn't exist yet, and that's why the first question when I asked was, where is middle segment? So it's enough to start a company. So we create like a child. Currently we are a brand. We are among top 3 in Russian brand in e-commerce. So let's go. Our turnover currently about $3.5 million. So this graph shows how we grow. And very important things when founder and entrepreneurs think about it business, how it grows. As for e-commerce or electronic business, it's very good sphere because we can expand quite huge with a very limited time. And for this, it's good enough for organic growth, but you can do more if you're in electronic business. So in 2019, we buy licensing for World Cup, and we produce clothes for babies in Russia. So it's a good project. So it's a point which I would show you for reasons that when you launch from this idea, when you perform, when you grow, everything is fine. And in next stage, you can buy just ambitious project and reach successful in them. So I would like ask you, and the best practice for us is to communicate each other. So I ask you questions, you reply. On one reason, I would like to see how you think. And these simple questions will lead you which way go when you graduate from university and you have options. And it's very important for me because I think I launch in a 3 year after university. So for this reason, I think that I'm young enough, but I have a lot of experience and good companies. So please ask me, or tell me, please tell me, what do you think, who is entrepreneur for you?
The person who can wear many hats at one moment.
What do you mean?
Like he can do everything that a business needs. For instance, he can be a negotiator, he can produce sales, he creates the product from the initial point. So it's like doing everything very quickly with a strategy.
Okay.
Taking the moment.
Is it good or not? So it's a person who works a lot and hard and qualified for. Am I right? So you're talking about this.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it good? Is it good or not?
In terms of what?
For you. It's not the right questions. We just discuss and think about what is to be entrepreneur. So from personal qualifications and maybe what this person do, you're absolutely right. So I just like to know, is it suits you or would you to be something else in life?
Well, so you are asking about like how do I see my future after graduation? Would I like to be an entrepreneur, right?
Yes, but don't think like it's a personal question.
Mm-hmm.
So in general, if you be an entrepreneur.
Well, according to the statistics, we had one more seminar called International Entrepreneurship. And according to the statistics, we found that in Russia it is the best time for making, growing, and enlarging business. So in terms of growing economy in Russia, I would say yes.
Okay, so any other point of view about entrepreneur?
As for me, I think an entrepreneur is a person with a specific way of thoughts. So you need not to just to work hard and maybe spend your whole time in order to make your business grow, but also to accumulate enough information and use it properly about all the maybe spheres of your business and maybe all the cuisine, as I can say it like that. So I think it's not suitable for everyone because such kind of ways of thoughts is not for everyone. Because people cannot sometimes formulate what they would like to gain and how they would like to gain.
Okay, so a special way of thinking, sometimes it's result of your life activity. And in general, I think that much more people that nowadays can be successful entrepreneur. And sometimes people just don't go this way because they think it's difficult, or maybe it's hardworking, or maybe they don't have such special way of thinking, analyzing life. But everything is much simpler, I think. And let's think a little bit about, for example, why. You more talking about how, special thinking, a lot of qualification, do everything quickly, have a lot of different specialists. But the question is more important is why. So, who can answer why to be entrepreneur? What's your point of view?
To change something.
To create.
Create,
To be
change.
independent.
What?
To be independent.
To be independent. Okay. As for independent, what do you mean?
Like when we work for a company, for a man, we do what this man tells us. We work on behalf of the company, and we do everything in the interests of this body. So, and when a person is an entrepreneur, then he has his own goals, his own achievements, and it's his money. So he tries to do everything like he sees.
Okay.
I don't know how to
Okay. And as for you, what is better? Or what would you like? So you're young, you're smart. What would you prefer better nowadays?
Now I don't have enough money to create my own business, so I prefer to work for a company, and when I have an idea, a business plan, and enough resources and enough people to create my own business, then I would definitely create it. If I'm sure that if it is successful in the future.
Okay. As for changing the world, great. Can you explain what exactly do you mean by saying this?
The change? Like you said that there were only two so-called markets, the high end and the low end, the cheap and the expensive clothes, for example, and you wanted to change that. You wanted to, yes, to create a new, like a layer for different consumers, and so you created a company, established it, and you changed the way the things work on this particular market.
Yeah. Please tell me, everybody, who drive by creating something? For example, when you do something not because somebody asks you, or somebody will pay you or something else. When you drive it because you believe it and you would like something change. Who thinks this way? Please repeat.
Entrepreneurs.
I mean, not who. Of course, entrepreneur is perfect. They usually do this way. But as for you, who do something in your life from trying to create something? So the core motivation when you try to create, give me examples. For example, who has hobbies?
I think everyone.
And if you have, why? So why you repeat it? Why you do it?
For example, because my hobby is poetry, so I would like to tell something to, even to myself. But I don't think that I would like to monetize it in the future. So something like that.
Yeah, it's okay. I think that the more simpler but more correct definition as for why people become entrepreneur, why they want to be entrepreneur, is something like they have something inside and they do it to reach the goal, but not from the vision of others, but from vision from there, and it's personal understanding. And it means that, for example, as you said, you are not going to earn on your poetry, but nevertheless you will continue to do it, unless you like it. So it's quite the same, that it doesn't, if you simply think about entrepreneurship, you don't be overqualified right now. So you may, in most cases, knew nothing about market, about what you're going to do. So it's normal. It's not good condition to launch, but it's normal. But if you would like to do something, and you go and you simply ready to do it for a long time for free, it's very good feeling to see about yourself as entrepreneur, because if you spend a lot of time, as you said, in the future you will be overqualified, you do everything quite clear and you're smart, understand what you do. I think that money comes. And let's go next. So that's why most people comes to entrepreneur. Say, really want to do something their own way. If it helps them to earn money, it's success. If no, it's hobby. So maybe for you, it's a nice idea to think, will I can monetize my hobbies? If yes, you are successful, but you're in the right point to be an entrepreneur. Let's go. So let's think about such two worlds, assets and expenses. I'm absolutely sure that you know what does it mean. Idea is to give me the simplest definition that everybody understands what is exact. So, any idea? The first word, assets. The second, expenses. So let's talk about assets.
So it's your resources?
It's a tricky question because the same resources can be, or maybe property. So it's like a more clear example. Could be at the same time, not the same time, but in different time can be your assets and your expenses. So, and for this reason I try to find out the simplest definition that everybody understands when it's assets, when it's expenses. Yeah.
Maybe assets are something that helps you to generate more income.
Yes, absolutely. Assets always generates income. If it not, it generate expenses. Or maybe it's not yours. For example, as we're talking about your property. So, give me example. When the same things, in one case is expenses, and other assets.
Like property, you can give it for rent. In this case, it's asset. If you don't do anything else with it, you just pay for it. You pay for gas, water, everything. In this case, it's expense. You have to pay for that.
Yeah. So, property, absolutely right. So, let's talk about, so it's my definition. So, it's not official definition. It's definition like a meaning, the core meaning of this words. So, generate profits, generates money lost. So, and the question, what we should buy to be rich? It's simple, but let's talk it loudly. Okay, does everybody understand that we should buy assets? So, okay, it's perfect. In general, it's enough. So, and for example, if you have this idea and you can say, okay, asset generates profits, it's perfect, let's go work, buy. But life, it's more complicated, and for this reason, what you can ask me about this advice. It's not my advice, of course, about please think about assets and please try to create or maybe buy as much assets which generate profits for you as possible. So, what your controversial question will be? Understand what I say? Don't shy, please. Any idea?
Maybe we need to understand the risks. Is it what you're talking about? Like assets should be like risks.
I'm not about risks. I think more about reality. So I think that a lot of people know it, understand it, but don't do it. And the reason why. Let's talk about it. Please think simple, because I don't use any material, so it's just common sense.
Maybe you first need some money to buy assets.
It's perfect. We are not rich right now, and to have something to buy, we need resources. Yeah, and for this reason, let's talk about where we can or where you can find resources. More simply, definition money for buy assets or change your life to have these resources.
To borrow them or to find a sponsorship or save some money.
Well, but the question is not how many ways to find money in general. What you can. For example, okay, you understand. For example, let's apartment in Moscow can generate a rent profit. Yeah. So, for example, if we have and we would like to invest in apartment, I mean have money to invest, we can do it, but we don't have. So, which way we can go nowadays? Your way, not my.
For example, we have different facilities for young entrepreneurs, like in Kassiye we have one accelerator, Vishka accelerator is available. So you can create an idea and try to present it for a common audience, and with this way you can earn money for your startup, and then it will work for you if it is successful.
Okay, but let's talk simpler and think simpler. For example, okay, startup, it's options. So who ready to launch its own startup? Everyone, but dream and ready to launch, it's different. So if you're really ready, please tell us about your idea. But the idea that startup, business, entrepreneurship, yeah, it's a good way to maybe generate profits and buy assets. Okay, I accept it. But I try to think about what you can do in your way, or maybe the time you graduated from university. Work. Yes.
It's a simple way, because you can just realize in which sphere you would like to grow up as an entrepreneur, for example, future entrepreneur. And you can learn more about your future sphere and career, and maybe create find a flaw and create something to fulfill it.
Who agree? Don't shy. Okay, yes, that's right. Absolutely right. The easiest way to generate money from a young specialist who has just graduated from university, it's find a good job. And if you talk about assets with salary, so we can understand that the salary we can get a little bit lower than the assets we want who can generate a passive profits. Everybody agree? Okay. So the next simple definition: working in hiring for salary, entrepreneurship. Give me understanding, your vision. What does it mean? We talk a little bit about entrepreneurship, that it will be easier for you, but as we find out a question about salary, what really means work in hiring?
Your work is limited to working hours, for example, so you don't have to think about your work, I don't know, at night or something. So, and your responsibility is also limited. So you're not responsible for the whole business.
Okay, but I care about others' business, to think about it during midnight, seriously.
Not others, but when you are the owner of the business?
No. I just see the difference. What means to work in hiring? Okay, I understand. I accept that you don't think about others' business. It's normal.
But why? Sometimes you can think about others' business. For example, when you work in hiring, as you have said recently, and your boss have an inspirational way of presenting the work, you can achieve that inspiration and work with high efforts. And that will be, you care about not your own, but someone else's business, because it brings you money. Maybe it's utopian, but sometimes it happens.
Well, it's very good when you can think about others' business and yours. And when you give a brilliant idea to your boss, believe me, your salary will rise proportion the value. And it's very good if you can and if you do it. So the problem is that in most cases people don't do it. They just choose simply hiring as an ordinary. Not to reach an ordinary result, but they work as normal, not as rigid goals, on not to be a star. Because, and for this reason, okay, if you will be the smartest or maybe brilliant or very experienced person who work for hiring, okay, your salary will be high. It's also rules of life, and it's normal. Okay. You would
Yeah,
like
I wanted to add that probably work in hiring means that you work for someone, and entrepreneurship is about self-employment.
Yes, it's correct, but in terms of our conversation, I'm more talking about what it means. So, I accept, that's absolutely right. Let's find out the key benefits and the key maybe circumstance, what you do in, if you go a different way. If you in the hiring, first, we understand that you get salary, yeah, from your job. Okay, why we need salary? Because we are going on the slide before, buy assets. If it's enough to buy everything you want, in most cases you have a very good paid job which you love, you inspired, you don't sleep when you go from office, and you think about that business because you understand it as yours. But in most cases it's not happened, but nevertheless you have market salary and it's not enough for assets. Yes? What else happened?
In which way?
When you're in hiring.
So you work for someone else, you accumulate this salary, and if it is high enough, you can save some amount of money in order to, for example, if you want to do it, you can again start your own business, and if you have an idea, of course.
Okay, let's think about your idea like salary can generate some resources, money, which in future you can, for example, use as a start point for your business. Okay, I understand it's like this. In most cases, you change your time for salary. And I think it's one of the maybe simplest, maybe stupid definition, but in most cases in life, so salary, it's like a short-term perspective. Let's think about risk, because we're talking about your life. For example, you choose this way, you are good employee, you have a little bit higher than average salary, and you about 30 years from nowadays. So it means that you are experienced, you have salary, good qualification, and why I use the word short term? So my definition is like you exchange your time for money. We spend for this 30 years from nowadays, and I would like to ask you to think about why it is short term.
because when you will not be suited enough for your position at your job, or you will be just go to retirement there. And if you not have additional sources of money, for example, I don't know, flats for rent, or your business, or maybe savings and holdings at bank or something else, you will have short money to live, especially in our country. I don't know, in Europe and in the USA maybe the situation will be completely different, but in this country, if you do not have additional sources of money, your elderly years will not be so pleasant as your grown-ups.
Okay, who agree? So it's look like in the 30 years when you retire, everything becomes not happy because money is over. Yeah.
If you do not have additional sources of money, because some people have, and that's why their years are quite pleasant.
Okay, I agree. People usually during their work career, of course, they buy assets. It's normal. So, because when they retire, they have something like deposits, maybe something else. It's good, but what else could be like a long-term and this long-term definition for working for hiring? Okay, retire. Okay, what else? Give me ideas.
Slaver.
Very positive.
Well, I don't know this word. What?
Rabство.
Okay, I know this word, but please explain.
Well, as for me, is if we are working for salary for 30 years, we become a bit narrow-minded, as for me, if we talk about the long-term development of us. Because we become a specialist in one narrow sphere, and we maybe can become an entrepreneur if we get more education. But as for me, an advantage of entrepreneur is that he is always in the process of the education. He has to analyze information, he has to get as much as possible to control his workers.
Okay. So my feedback. I'm also agree. As I said, there's no right or wrong questions. We are talking about life. So as we are going to talk about electronic business, we in general should understand why we are talking, why we are going this way, and what are the options we have. So funny questions, for example. Slavery, yeah. It means that you don't have enough opportunity to do something else except your work. Can we paraphrase this way?
In most cases.
In most cases. What for you to do what you want? Maybe someone else. What it means? I'm free, for example. What means I'm free?
I can do everything I want.
Yes, but what does it mean?
In terms of entrepreneurship.
In terms of your life and in terms of your way when you are in hiring. So, why you don't, for example, the question is why you don't do everything you want if you are in hiring?
Because we're not a boss.
Maybe, but you can be boss in hiring. A lot of transnational corporations have very well-paid bosses who are not free in terms of hiring, of course.
Maybe because we have some restrictions according to our contracts.
Yes, restrictions, but what is the easiest restrictions of your life?
The working hours.
Yes, your time.
Time.
Your time. Simple. So, and let's think once again, what is hidden in short term? You don't have time.
Because you're exchanging your time for money.
Yes, but you simply don't have time. So you simply exchange all your time for the money. And do you agree with this? For example, you have twice a year a holiday for 2 weeks. On your vacation, you can do everything you want. Then you're back, and all your money you spend on the company who pay your salary. And for this reason, you don't have time, for example, to think, to check, to analyze, as you said, and time is the resources that you have. You don't have money, maybe you're not right now a super qualified specialist, but you have time. And it's your key assets. Who understand it? And why I think that the time is a key asset for you right now.
Because we can do with it everything we want.
Okay.
Because we can spend this time on thinking, analyzing, and developing our ideas.
Yes, but let's simplify it, because when we're back to understand that we are free, so we don't see the details. When we are talking that we are not free in terms of hiring, so we're talking about that we don't have time at all to do anything else. For example, if you are smart, you can work for 2 jobs. If you are crazy, you can work for 3 jobs. If these jobs gives you the time to change. For example, if we work as freelance, you know what is freelance. And it's a good point, I think, freelance. This way, for example, are we free if you're working like freelancer?
Relatively.
What?
I would say
You
no.
can say it's very relatively.
I think yes, because we choose. Are we ready right now to exchange our time for money or not? But in most cases, when someone always pays you for results, it's freelance model. So we agreed for a particular result and for a particular sum of money. So if you always pay for results, are you free?
Well, we are not stable, so I suppose no.
So stable. It's a good point for this conversation. We add something new. Because, for example, let's think about poor people and like homeless. They are free. Do you agree? A lot of time thinking about everything, but no salary, no resources, no money. No our way. Yes?
Yeah, but they don't have any goals.
Don't talk about goals, because I think that a lot of people have their own goals, and
Well, I mean the goals that are related to our conversation. Like their only goal is to survive somehow.
I agree, but I think if you're talking about, for example, exchanging time for money, homeless don't exchange, they are free for this reason. But then they have resources and they maybe they are not happy. It's enough, yeah? But as for we're talking about, for example, such things as freelance, they are more happy, but it's not stable, as you said. Salary gives a more stable payment, but get all your time. So, and for this reason, I think let's go for my definition. So, first of all, hiring. Sell experience and time for market cost salary. In short-term vision. Short-term, it means that you can live the way you want. Salary, it's if you're qualified, if you're smart, it's not a problem. It's a good way, always. But in 30 years, your life a little bit looks like slavery, because what's your name?
Ilgis.
Ilgis. Because Ilgis say all the time allocated to the company. And someone said about risk, like hiring, or there is another risk exists when transnational company change bosses. And in this point, all structure change, people change. And you go for the market. For example, if you have economic crisis or something else, you're absolutely not happy. Because your revenue, your profits in one point can be zero, at least. And if you think about what our first idea is to buy assets. Salary, it's a good way to buy assets at once. For example, like apartment in Moscow, if you like. It's enough, and you will reach this goal maybe in 10 years, maybe in 20, but if you have stable salary, you will always reach this goal. But when it comes to entrepreneur, the definition is sell experience and time in order to reach extraordinary results in long-term vision. What the difference you see?
The terms.
Long-term, yes.
Results.
I think the better extraordinary results. Let's talk about it. How you understand, in this case, long-term, what it means?
Long term, it means that, like we have discussed, we are free to create something we want. So even in 30 years, it won't look like slavery. Because you are doing your own thing.
Absolutely. If you are smart enough to launch, for example, a company, and you're a successful entrepreneur, nobody comes and say another bosses. That's right. If you spend a lot of your time thinking about your company, it means that you understand how it's operates. Because entrepreneurs, as we start from the beginning, it's not about special vision. Special vision, it's your idea. Why you would like it to do without anything. No money, you met, you would like. So it's drive you at the first step. But if you reach the goals, if you're a company, you are not a startup, it means that you earns, your company generate profits, and you decide which way to go and where to spend your time. And as I said, time, it's the key resources in your life. Like my life, all people think about time, but evaluation of this difference in a different age. For example, older people think the time it's quite important for them because it's limited and they understand. When you are young, we think that we have a lot of time and it's not maybe something that we ready to protect too much. But in terms of entrepreneurship and working and hiring, we can at least understand that if we really want to be rich, we have to buy an assets. The way we can buy assets, different. We can see hiring, we can see entrepreneurship, we can see in the middle, like freelance, and freelance is good enough, but not stable. Entrepreneurship in long-term vision, after 30 years of here, I think that it's much better to be independent, to have good profit, to have time and think. So let's talk about such examples like dentist. For example, you are a dentist and you launch your own cabinet, your practice. Yeah? Is it business?
Well, if it's your own cabinet or your own clinic, then I guess to some extent it is.
Okay.
Because you provide services.
Working job. Well, of course it's business. Don't shy. If you launch as a dentist a practice and you get money for your services, it's a business. But how it's look like? Is it more like salary? Is it more like freelance? Is it more like entrepreneurship and long-term vision?
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Is there a difference between an entrepreneur and a businessman?
In general, no. So entrepreneurship or entrepreneur, it's more correct words for explaining who's businessman. When if you are abroad and you say I'm businessman, they don't understand you. If you are entrepreneurship, you said as you are entrepreneur, they understand exactly who are you. Like startup. So, any idea? Okay, let's think. It's absolutely clear that it's not a hiring, yes? No bosses, nobody gives you salary. If you operate well, you have good profits, it's you sell nothing, you earn nothing. But short-term, long-term vision as entrepreneurship. Dentist is a good example. Detail. You own only when you do it on your own hand. It's not like you're big bosses of a large clinic with a lot of employees.
It's similar to freelancing.
It's exactly freelance. And it's not a stable model. But if you think about why people choose freelance, the answer usually will be that they qualified enough to sell, to earn enough to be more free in your time. It means that if you, for example, a dentist and you launch a clinic, at least you absolutely very high level specialist in dentist. Because if you are a student who graduated from university and you launch this business, your clients will be very, very unhappy and feel a lot of pain, of course. And for this, your business close as soon as possible. The same idea. If you, for example, you are, what's your profession? Specialist, specialization. Who are you? Guys, who are you? Economist. So what you sell? For example, you're an economist who would like to be an entrepreneur, not who would like to be a freelance. What could you sell?
Knowledge.
Knowledge, it's not the results. Knowledge, it's your qualification.
Maybe sources like in business evaluation.
Business evaluation. Okay. Okay, it's okay. So you have, for example, something that you can sell as a person who understands how to evaluate company, who as a result can give a special report with conclusion, how much this company costs, for example, and which way you switch to go for a company and a hiring in the standard understanding of hiring, or to be a freelance. If you can buy evaluation. For example, when this switch point, any idea?
When you understand that your experience is not enough for the market.
But which way you go? From salary to freelance, or from hiring to freelance, or freelance to hiring?
Freelance to hiring.
Freelance to hiring. So at first freelance, then to hiring. Yeah.
No.
No, I think
In
you.
my opinion, it's vice versa. First
Yeah,
hiring
that's right.
and then freelance.
So-
Because
When you come to working for salary, so of course you have a position, different positions, and your rise as your qualification rise, your salary also always rise and position rise. Yeah, it's normal in companies. So, but when you qualified enough and you understand that you, for any reason, would like to switch to freelance, which reason could be to switch to freelance? Because freelance gives you one key advantages. You can have your own time, not stable profit, but free time. Yeah. So, who can give me any reason when we switch?
For example, when we have qualified enough and we would like to pursue our career in something else, like to create our own business again, so we can maybe combine both these things. Like we can work as freelance and then at the same time think about some ideas.
Okay, I think yes, but a more simple definition. Do you believe that your bosses can't pay you as much money as you would like? Or maybe your qualification of your market qualification. Let's think the easiest way. For example, you are not in Moscow. You are in a small town in the sea, in Russia. You have a quite high qualification. Your constraints of the salary, what? Of the market salary in your town. Agree? For example, do you always have opportunity to switch off to Moscow? No. You don't have enough assets for this switch, yeah? Especially if you have family, if you have obligations, if you have a lot to love in the 30 years, it's not easy to do. For example, if you're the best specialist in the market in Moscow, which way you should go? Your company not ready to buy your competence for a higher salary. And there is no exist another company who ready.
Maybe multinational corporations.
Yes, but what you should do?
Apply.
We always should try. I agree, but you have to understand that you're not able sometimes to switch for example, from Moscow to New York. It's not easy for you, and the older you become, it's more difficult to do. What it means indeed that a good idea to switch from salary to freelance is to have a salary on one company and sell your competence for another company, or maybe much more than one company worldwide as a freelancer. Do you understand the model? What it means? It means that you grow up in salary and understand that market don't want you to pay more. It's a constraint of the market. In entrepreneurship, always constraints of the market exist. But from person understanding what it means, it says that no company exists already to pay you more for your qualification in this particular place. And to switch to another, it's difficult for you. Okay, but if you're smart, you can sell your competence outside and your profit rise. But if you would like to spend more time with, or maybe with friends on vacations, or you have family, so you understand from this point that you don't have time more than 24 hours divided by 7, yeah? And this way is always limited. For example, you can do, create work for 1, 2, 3 companies with ordinary salary. It's always not enough to go. And let's go next. Who can answer the questions? What is the easiest ways to become rich?
Have rich parents.
Okay, I agree. Who have rich parents in this class? It's a job, but another ideas?
Steal something.
Steal.
Hard working.
It's not the easiest.
Hard working doesn't works at all, believe me. Even if you think that when you launch your company and you will be excited and believe that it's the best, whatever you have created, and to like do it 24 hours, the time happens when you understand that you can't do it. And work hard, it's not the way to be rich.
There's no easy ways to become rich if you don't have rich parents and I don't know any easy reasons, any easy ways to become rich other than to devote all your time to your goal and to your own.
You're right. We are not talking that to be to do nothing. Okay, you work hard. I more think about which way, and give me another ideas from to be rich. You can paraphrase what we start from.
To launch a startup, create something new.
I think it's like difference when we're talking about strategy and tactics.
Be flexible.
For example, strategy is this question. Tactics, maybe freelance, salary, or your own company. It's a tactics. But if you would like to be rich, any idea?
You have to have a brilliant idea, because basically if we look at the richest people today, those who are the richest in the world, they all have just a brilliant idea, and basically they all had this idea in the time of technological development. For example, all the things like social media, like Google, Facebook, and others. It was all a brilliant idea, but we all could think about this, but we were not in the time of technological development.
So I accept, but have you ever heard the thought like idea costs nothing? Have you ever heard such? So we launch a company from idea. The more tremendous, huge, disruptive, innovative, technologically expanded, and others your idea, the more potential to be rich you have. Okay, but let's talk about all our conversation is let's simple things make more simple. So like we understand, for example, which way we can go, and what happened if we are in the salary way. Okay, we understand salary good enough for no money. If risk and no time, because so it's like a structure. But For example, what other way to be rich?
Try to simplify something.
Uh,
To simplify the life of people. To simplify some.
I think
methods.
it's too simplified into of our conversation. Okay, let's go on. So at least the answer you have to say at this way, you say buy more assets, because we have already passed it. Yeah, it's important, because when you have money, and maybe this evening, think about you have $1 million. How would you spend it? So, because people usually think this way, I don't have $1 million. So I don't think about $1 million, how to do this. For example, if you are going to launch your business and you think about your idea, of course you find out that you then don't have enough resources to launch. And if you're a real entrepreneur, it's not maybe reason to stop. You find out these resources because you are not alone in this world. Not alone in this world. Let's go to answer. So the easiest definition, which I find out in my way, is to sell much. And maybe it looks stupid, but for example, when you work for someone and get salary, you sell your time. When you work as a dentist with your hand, you sell your time, because you do right now or not. Agree? For example, Google, who sell advertisement, can sell as much advertisement as market needs right now. Can you see where is the difference between sell much? You sell, in our conversation, limited resources, time. They sell something else and sell much.
Our time is limited in the resources, no?
What do you mean?
Like, you cannot say sell more than, 10 hours a day. Like, it's just impossible.
It depends what you sell. The big idea is that don't try, or maybe don't try in a 10 years sell only your time. When you do evaluation report for someone, you also sell your time. You do it on your own hands. It requires your own time. So, of course, you limit it in time. Look at the corporation. For example, Procter & Gamble. What they sell? Time? Alibaba Group. What they sell? Yandex. They sell something else at least. Do you agree? And it's not exactly not time. For example, this is idea. For example, products and the producer. We are Lucky Child, we produce a clothes. We can produce as much as market ready to buy. We don't sell time. We sell products. For example, if you look at the most richest company, they don't sell goods. They sell services. Agree? And if we compare, you can see how rich different companies, because the first idea is their market and what they exactly sell. So, who would like to be a rich?
Everyone.
Everyone. So, what we should do at least? Buy assets. because it generates money. Not exchanging your time for report or salary, but assets. Where you can get resources to buy assets. At least sell much. And the next idea that we are talking about is that what it could be. Please tell me what time we have a break. 3 o'clock. 5 minutes, yeah? Okay. Let's talk about these questions. So, do you have bells? No. So, you said me when it's time to break, okay? It's 10 minutes, yes?
4.
4 minutes.
Yes.
4 minutes break. Perfect.
10 minutes break, but 4 minutes.
No, until the break it's 4 minutes.
Okay.
And then 10 minutes.
We lose 1 minute of our time. Okay, the last questions. When is the best time to switch from hiring to entrepreneurship? I think that you are ready to answer because we have talked a lot about it. But let's think about switching. It's not a switching to freelance. It's switching to something more bigger, more interesting, more harder, where to work.
When you realize you're ready for it, both physically and mentally, like when you have accumulated enough assets for it.
So, first you said about qualifications, yes?
Yes.
Okay. As for bosses, I don't understand. What do you mean?
I haven't said it.
Okay, let's repeat.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so I said that the best time to switch from hiring to entrepreneurship is when you feel ready for it, both physically, like not physically, well, when you're ready for it mentally, like in your mindset, and when you realize you have enough assets to do it.
Some experience.
Yeah.
Okay, let's accept you're an experienced person. So it's like everything what you said. You're ready, you're mental ready, you have maybe resources, maybe you don't understand how much resources you need exactly. It's a little bit later. Okay, at least you experience. What else? It should be something easy that everyone understand it's from the first point. So it's not must be difficult. For example, okay, you qualified.
That's a good idea.
Good idea, yes, but it's not the switch point.
We feel the market need for our idea.
Yes, but we will talk about all this. So it's like a tactic, how to survive. We talk about market, how to launch, what is startup, and so on. Okay. My vision looks like this definition. Your business gives you at least 30% of your market salary. So think about it like you are in a hiring. You spend maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, it doesn't matter. But at least you said about it. You are in the hiring and you are qualified because we are talking about switch. So it means that you get salary from someone and they pay you because they accept your qualification and ready to pay this money. So the switch, it means that you need to do something to do something here, and it's before you're ready to switch. And it's called company. And when you're ready, go from hiring, when it generates already at least 30% of revenue we get from here salary.
How can we know it?
How we can calculate it?
Yes.
If you start here something, try to start it when you are in hiring. And do a lot of experience, best practice, and try to earn money. As you understand that it's not zero in dollars, and it generates at least 30% of your salary that you get monthly, it's a good time to say, okay, I'm ready, forget about my salary, and to become entrepreneur and do as much that to buy more. Break.
So does it mean we have to think about it during our hiring?
Yeah.
It's like подушка безопасности.
It could be everything you can, but don't try to lunch and forget about salary. Because if you don't have resources, if you're not parent a rich person and you don't have enough assets who generate you monthly, you don't have any other way except lunch in a long-term strategy. Salary, it's a short-term strategy. How much time it requires you, that's how brilliant you are. Cool, break. Okay, will others come? Yes. Should they wait for them? No. Okay. So, let's talk about Max. I think that it's important. Maybe the most important things, as you said. I tried to explain. If you don't know, if something not clear, just ask. So we have seminars. Yeah. So for me, it's like a practical work. So we do something during these classes, and the marks looks like you have finished or complete all the tasks on the seminars, and as exam, you have a work team. So you have a presentation of the project, so it's a group work, and the idea is all we do on seminars must be in your final work. Your work is project, so it's look like you get an existing or understanding to everyone business, like a business model. So, and like the same task through seminars, you implement it in your final work. And we have a discussion for 5 minutes. You represent it, some questions, and you pass. I think that the best way to the best way is to split by groups at once, because as a group works, it's better that you on seminars work together. And I think that you can simply at the beginning understand what you should analyze, or how looks your project, how looks your business, and you pass seminars and do the same things for final work. And maybe the best practice is do it simultaneously, so at the same time. Okay. We are talking about Mac. So I think it's would be not difficult. So for me, it's like entrepreneurship, business, business. It's more about how you can spend your life. So the more understand which ways exist, how it works, and it's not magic, the more ready you for life. So I don't have, so during the course we don't have difficult task. But if it's difficult for you, just give me a signal that maybe it's not an ordinary way or it's too complicated. It's normal. So, any questions? Is it a problem for you to decide who will be in which group at once?
How many people should be in one group?
It doesn't matter for me, but I won't be that if we get total class, so it will be the same number of people, plus 1 or minus 1, plus 2 maximum. So it will be
How many people in the group?
I don't know. So I don't know how much people in class, for example, because today maybe not all, but I ask this information. So I think. So you should think for next time how we can separate for the group. I think the more easier project you get, like a business, the easier for you. So you will understand how it works in details, and it's not complicated as business model. It works fine. Any question? For example, if you look on this audience, I think that 3-5 people in group is enough. I think that you are a little bit more than today. So for me, I think that presence on seminars is important, because I at least understand that people exist and who do something. During the work, final work, it's a good idea that each person get a part of the total work. So, and you can represent it by one person, or maybe you separate and each one represent his part of the job. It doesn't matter. Any questions? Okay, so I repeat once again, because someone late, I repeat it more shortly. So please visit seminars and do the task during the seminars. Please find out for yourself who will be in which group, because you have to separate and work in group. And the final exam will be your representation of the project. The task would be the same as the seminars. Important. Please pass the task from seminars. Please show it in the final project. That's all. Let's go. So, we stop at the idea, you can see, yes? So, we stop at the idea that your business gives you at least 30% of your market salary. It's a good switch point to become an entrepreneur. Okay, you ask that it means, yes, you start a little bit earlier, then you launch your company. Then you switch to your company. Because, for example, look at this like you are a freelancer. All work time you work for a company. You are grow, you are become more smarter, you are become experienced, and in a particular period of time, you are well qualified person. It's important because if you go to the company, your own company, and think as entrepreneur at once without any experience, you could success. It happens. It's a good idea, but the reason that it's not always reach the goal, and nobody knows which conclusion you will do or make from this experience. Because it's good when someone guides you, but when you are alone and when you are failed, sometimes you think that it doesn't work and you will bring here forever. I think that you must have heard that all entrepreneurs says about such idea like keep trying. Keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. For me, it's good examples like, for example, who can ski on ski or snowboard? Nobody?
Everyone.
Everyone.
I can.
So, everyone.
No.
Cool. And when you first time try to do something new, of course you fail. But for skiing it's not difficult because a lot of people after several hours can do it. And then they train. And increasing skills. The same idea from your experience in company. And I try to show you that entrepreneurship, it's not about magic indeed. So it's a particular number of must be practice which leads you to success. And if you fail, sometimes the reason is not you don't know what to do. The reason that market constraints, the reason that you have a more aggressive competitor on the market. Or sometimes you don't have enough resources, because your resources at this point, salary and time, to reach your success. And debt valley, have you heard such definition like debt valley? Nobody knows what is debt valley. Debt valley, it's like when you launch business, a lot of companies close like that in this period of time. And it's called debt valley. And at least when you launch, you think you have a good tactic plan how to survive. Usually money is over, business is closed. And to come through all these problems, it's not a magic. If you understand what you should accept, what will happen next, and how to prevent and survive. Okay, so I've read here that it means you are experienced enough to start making mistakes. How do you understand it? In this point, you're ready to switch. You have already company. I assume it's small. It's small. 30% it's not enough to live the way you prefer, because you lost a lot. But it gives you something, and let's think what it's make mistakes. Do you accept that you always make mistakes? And big corporation makes mistakes. Yes. But in a business, how it's look like for you? What for you to make mistake in business?
Experience.
Experience? Who said? What do you mean? Not enough experience?
Well, I think you always don't have enough experience.
Yes, I agree. But how it's look I make a mistake? How it's look like I fail?
When you make a mistake, and next time you were at the same or a similar situation, you know how to act or how to avoid the same mistake. So it's according to your experience.
How to avoid looks like you know what not to do next time, at least. So you are learning, but it's not a mistake. What mistake?
The point of understanding that it is a mistake, I consider is to be a loss of income, of sales. If you're doing something wrong, then your sales are decreasing.
Yeah. At least it's that everybody understand. Because, for example, you said, I get an experience, I failed. People at least have to ask, what was the experience? Why do you think that it's failed? Do you really think that it's failed? If you ask entrepreneurship that you failed, he will prize you, because you have very sensible experience. But simplifying, as we all try to simplify everything during this course, make a mistake, it means lost money. And sometimes you make mistakes, after that you can't grow up. Do you accept it? Give me an example. How it look like for you? So give me an example of mistake when you can't survive as a company. You're shy or you don't have no idea?
Like when our partners or contracting
Clients?
our clients cannot fulfill their liabilities, their business liabilities. I mean, to state materiality.
Okay, for example, your clients don't pay you or don't fulfill the contract, don't supply materials or something else you buy from them. It's not a fail for entrepreneurship. We can accept that it's fail because it's at least you lose money for this reason, but usually we will think about such situation as how to prevent this risk. So it's a risk management more than your fail as entrepreneur. But it's good enough. Any idea?
Losing deadlines.
Deadlines in project.
Yeah, I'm missing deadlines.
Yes, but the level the same as tactic. For example, you can in a salary or in hiring lose deadline. It's not always equal that you are lost your job. Yeah. Give me examples of. So it could be the reason when the company closed if you failed deadline and it was only your client one. But usually in this case, for example, you will try to find another client and you will do everything, or you change a supplier, and for the next client you will fulfill the contract.
Yeah.
It will be a mistake, so you will make a pivot
But
and
you find the solution for this mistake.
more. So, and you prevent the risk. I think that it's all about finance. Business, it's a finance, first of all. For example, that all business has profits and expenses. Like we has already said about assets, the same idea. For example, what happened if you rent a flat, apartment, and you have zero, and you have no idea how to find money for the next month? What should you do in the real world? It's a simple question.
Should take a loan.
Please
Take a loan.
take
Loan.
take a loan.
Yeah.
Uh,
From the bank.
And decrease our liability.
at least you can't live in this apartment. Yeah. So something happens to you, but you can't use it anymore. And it's exactly that, unless you give another money for this, so you can't return to the apartment. On the market, it's look like if it's a very, very good flat and everybody wants to live there. If you have, for example, 1 day on payment bill, other person will allocate that resource. So it's the similar like a market. And entrepreneur should think about its company like what makes his company grows. If you lose the key competence, sometimes it's clients, sometimes it's your employees, sometimes it's something else like technologies. So you have an actives or assets, but it's not a form of goods, it's a form of another materials. Usually what do you think the key competence of the company? And key resources which company always protect on the market.
Human resources.
Human resources.
If we speak about the services, I think the human resources is the main resource. If we speak about the products, main resources will be production.
It's all resources. They are all resources like human resources. So for example, if your founder dead, the company is dead. Because he was the key resources of the company and he don't implement how it could survive without him. So the key idea, what I tried for this understanding of making mistakes, and it means that you experience enough not to make a mistakes which kill you as a company. You don't understand everything, you make mistakes, it's normal. people prize you because you are learning from this experience, but it's not kill you. And the reason when you make a step in a business, always think about risk. Always think about risk as a budget, as a finance way. For example, if you lose something and you not survive, it's a critical mistake. Let's go next. So could you simplify answer? Money or big idea? What is the core value for founder? I will repeat. Money as a profit, as a result of your company. Some people start the company from money, so they want to become, for example, rich. And others think about big idea. What do you think? I call it core value for founder, but usually, so you can start everything. And when you're talking in the previous lecture, more about why we do it. We talk about assets, we talk about different way like salary or, and why we think that switch to a company, it's a good way, if you can. But when you switch, not only money, so I call it, here is the target. Let's call it, here is that value. So, well, you kill. So, here you have an experience and potentials, and we agreed that we're not going to make critical mistake to become here. At least we have plan to survive this. But always you start a company with a target. The most easiest way or answer it's, for example, I do it because of money. But it's not true, really. It's not true because it's not the easy way. And we all understand that a salary or hiring way, it's a more stable. Here is almost stone. Unless you are a really cool guy who understands and always sunshine and flat. It's not true. And of course you can see how people reach the Forbes. So success, it's not like and you win. So when you will be on this track, what must be inside you, then you simply don't give up, or you don't switch off your brain, which leads you here. Any idea? So you understand what I'm talking? Yeah?
Believe in your idea.
Believing, it's a good.
Strong inspiration that your idea will help somehow. Not only money, because money will lead us to that value. Yeah.
Well, the idea, have you had such thought, like, we talk about it, so like, I launch my company to change the world. So, let's return to this. How do you think? You as a small company, when you're ready to switch, do you really have enough resources to change the world? How do you think? It is possible or not to change the world?
I think it is.
It is, absolutely right. So, but let's paraphrase the big mission like change the world to more understandable to others and for you. Then you don't give up. Let me show you the example. For example, in this point you have already a family. Maybe you have a children. Maybe you have obligation from your bank. You comes to your part, or maybe to your kids. They're small. In my cases, when I launched company, it was maybe 2 years old child. So, and you said, I will change the world. But your partner said, where is the money? You repeat, you don't understand, I change the world. Bank said to you, guy, you don't understand where is the money, where is your obligation will be fulfilled. And for this reason, I find out that to have a big mission, it's a very good idea, but it doesn't work. Because people don't understand, and when you're alone with a lot of obligation, you have no energy to go. And very often, something here, it's like more than 70% of this valley has passed, you has already passed. But it's not a finish when you can breathe. And your mindset, no way, I don't believe. I have no power to go further. Nobody believes me, my company, my partners. No, doesn't work. It's really happens always, believe me. Change the world in this point. Your mind said, no, guy. Let's talk about obligations, your family, something else, and you in tactics. Let's think what it could be that helps you to survive. It's also about ideas. It's ideas. Paraphrase this mission like changing the world to something more smaller, but more understandable to others.
Like divide our idea into steps, some steps. 2, 3, yeah.
Yeah, of course, it's your tactic. And we, during our course, talk about project management. So, if you don't have a plan, the first step you can do, find out what will be the plan. If you can't understand what happened in the long term, understand what happened in a week. So it's. So, let's paraphrase this like, don't try at this point to change the world. Please try to change something small around you. Because your company, it's a service for people. If people don't buy, something wrong with what do you do? And when you start from money, vision money, it's look like you comes here, you calculate, you understand that it's zero, but it's yet zero. But your mission is money. You plan in a year to buy something big, or effort for yourself or your family, another life. You comes to the point in a year, you don't see it in your balance, and you decided to close the company. If you have big idea and you think like I'm changing the world, your mind say it's impossible. We have zero in our balance, we have a lot of obligations. You don't have something will confirm that you do the right way. Because money, it's always as a result. It's a result. Business comes to results by doing something. For example, how would it called? It's your idea, yes, but you can calculate that you do something. You're not just sitting on the table, dreaming. You really do it, something. You calculate that you do and done something, and you understand that something happens better around you. And for this reason, with this idea, it's like energy inside you, force you to go to your future. And I think that statistics show when people reach extraordinary high result, they always talk about big idea like changing the world. When you reach your local results, it's much better than to be in a salary world. And you have enough power here to make a mistake, which doesn't kill you, but you hurt from it. And only when you see that you change something around you and you do it indeed, gives you the power to go further. How do you think, why we talk about it?
Maybe like to improve our vision. And maybe it's like a starting point towards creating business in various spheres, again, not only electronic, but also in different types of production and services, etc.
Yes, I think that I hope that you really, during this course, always ask yourself about would I like to be an entrepreneur? Because this way gives you much more profits in long term. But I don't say that it's easy way. It's much more complicated than to be a high paid specialist. But if you jump here, the first reality you get, it's not the money, it's not price. Nobody supports you, a lot of obligation, but this small idea helps you to survive. So it's like tips from people who was there and now I think you will be able to understand when other people say you something, what they are talking about. Because nobody doesn't exist materials which explains clear what helps to people give up or what not give up and go further. It's not a motivation. It's not a big target in the final light, like final light, but it's important. So, my definition why it's important because is big idea makes you strong in a bad time. But your big idea, not a change in the world. Change in the world helps your mind to kill your business. It's like a mad discussion with yourself. Please try, you will. So, as of money. Money always shows that you do all right. Please understand this. A lot of people do something like entrepreneur with zero profit. If you have a zero profit, your business must die. But if you're a very good specialist who don't come this switch yet, you will always be in a dead valley like this. But as a slavery in a highway, as a mad person in entrepreneurship, and maximize your unhappiness as soon as possible. No wife, for guys. No children, no bank obligations, and no flat and anything else. No assets, as we said already. So if you do something, you believe it. In a mad conversation like this, it gives you enough power to continue, but you can't reach this point. It makes that you do something wrong. So, can you give me? So you have questions. So, Dai? Yes, no. You are here. It means that no money. You have idea. You are not funny. You have said no money, no funny. So, which way you should say, Dai, yes? Which way you must? What you should do? How do you think? How it's look like? What your next step? To ask yourself in this and choose the next step in life cycle. What do you think?
You should ask yourself how much profit you make, and if it's enough.
It looks like you don't have enough profit.
So you
You can't switch, but you have idea which gives you power. But you can't be in this cycle. Do you know what is that loop?
Yeah, maybe you should change the idea a little bit, maybe in the way that you present it.
That's right. If you choose from mental, you ask yourself, it's time to die. If answer no, you believe. Please change something. If you don't change something, you are that loop. The problem is that a lot of entrepreneurs, as they don't pass this way, they don't understand. Usually it's look like soon, tomorrow, something happens and Google buys us. It doesn't happen. If you don't change your company, if you don't pivot, you're in that loop. But nobody comes to you and said, guy, you are that loop. And it's important to understand. Questions? Let's go then. So here we comes to life cycle corporations. So it's a fundamental 20 years research of Adidas who has the vision how company operates during life cycle. We will talk about this trend. What happens here, it doesn't matter. During your study, have you heard something about Adidas? How you understand it? In details? Adidas life cycle. Life cycle.
Upward trend, downward trend, peak and
So you knew something, but not in details, and we can stop here, yeah? The first point on this chart is courtship. It's like a dating. So dating is more understandable definition. So how do you think? Why, when you launch your company, it happens usually here, not here. So why, when you launch here, it's look like dating? For example, let's think let's imagine that we are going to open a small restaurant in Moscow.
As I suppose, because it looks like a date or partnership, said here, because you need to know something about the sphere you would like to operate in the future. So you need to know your customers, you need to know potential customers, you need to know the potential expenses, and you need to evaluate your opportunities and also your own efforts. That's why it looks like a date. So you need to know your partner, like your sphere, in order to operate successfully in the future.
Mm-hmm. Another point of view? Let's talk about what we will do if we decided right now, we have decided to open a restaurant. So I use a restaurant like understandable business model. You know what is a restaurant, how it operates. So it's a business. We don't sell time in restaurants. We sell food to clients. So it's all absolutely true that it's business. It suits us. So who thinks that you are able, your experience, or maybe you have a big idea to launch restaurant right now?
A restaurant is not that simple to set up.
I understand, but we are not talking about are you ready indeed and how you will operate, successful or not. We are talking more about how do you think is a general understanding how it's work is enough to go next step? No. What do you want to know or what information you need before you start, you're ready to start?
Considering the restaurant case, I'm not a professional, but...
We are not all a professional. I'm
I
not
don't
also
know,
not.
maybe someone is. So first of all, you need to know the preferences of clients. So in food...
How you get it?
According
know it
to...
from the inside.
How you get this from inside? Where you get inside?
Like
During some restaurants.
or you have operated as a sous chef or chef and you know something about this business like from inside.
I think that first we need to consider the trends, and usually, for example, in Russia, many restaurants are opened with the experience of their foreign partners. For example, recently on Patricky, one restaurant was opened. It's about the avocado. And maybe not everyone knows, for example, in New York, there was the first restaurant with this idea where all food was made of avocado. And the same idea is here. So firstly, you need to consider all the trends that are on the market, and maybe some examples of foreign experience that you can put into the Russian one. But also, for example, maybe if you're enthusiastic, you just need to follow your vision of how to say. For example, if you love food and you understand, maybe you feel the preferences, you can communicate with your friends or something like that who go to restaurants, who understand the fashion, maybe how it's called, and you can understand the tastes that are popular right now. So, for example, maybe how to say, today is very popular to eat poke, something like that. And when it's high, you can open such restaurant and it will be on the wave. But then, for example, it's a project only for maybe maximum 2 years. I'm not sure exactly, I don't know. I haven't done the market research, but I think so. And then something new will arrive. So just, I don't know how to explain, maybe it's just, how to say, if you are interested in it, you will understand what you want to open. But if you're kind of a stranger, you will never understand what you want.
Okay, let me paraphrase, because I understand what you say. in the term of the questions, do you ready to lunch? I think that we don't have answer yet. First of all, you are talking about, for example, thank you for advertisement of this restaurant. But for me, we have special idea. For example, our vision that people made of avocado. Even those who have allergy for avocado. Then we talk about it like we have a special marketing communication that we are unique by this way. Maybe it help us, maybe not. It's look like the first mistake we can make and then survive or not. An experienced entrepreneur will do this. He allocate money to restaurant. He opened. He have chef, staff, everything, like ready restaurant. And when it opened, he find out that nobody made of dishes that he create. It's so-called dead mistake. Because in this way we should change everything, but we in most cases has already spent all our money for this business. And we have no chance to ask these questions because the answer has already exist. No. Die? No way to know. Yes. So we have already that. Because business not generate profit, and why they put this point on the chart. Dating, it's like you have an idea. On this point you do nothing. You don't spend money at least. But you talk to everybody about your idea. You like dating with your idea. You ask people what they think, why they think, what they think about this place, what they think about this menu, and they always gives information from this mind, their mind, to the world. And what world do? We call it feedback, yes? For example, as you said, trends. What is trends? And we have in our world instruments, techniques to find the trends, yes? We can analyze statistics, we can see reports, we have data to understand does the trends or not. When you are trying to find out an insight, you don't have instruments yet, unless you start talking with people and give a feedback. So, what the tips to survive and not make a critical mistake on this point? Guys, think.
Could you repeat the question, please?
The question is that, for example, if we don't have instruments to check the trend, to understand, we don't have data, we have only our idea, what we should do before to launch, but don't make a critical mistake when we close this business.
To conduct a survey, to ask people.
Ask, accept. So.
Except asking others?
Yeah. So we ask. So we make like a dating. So we talk, research, and that. So what else we can do? So the next step after we can talk a lot of people, we should ask. do we ask the right people about our idea? Can you understand the difference? In the marketing world, how we talk it? What's the right definition of what it's process? So we're not just asking. We make a marketing research on a particular place with audience, and we think about more parameters in our business. For example, like average bill. Is it important for business to know this metric? Very important. So can you change, for example, or can you see the difference? Would you come to my restaurant where you can taste tremendous range of avocado dishes and the same questions, but you will pay 10,000 rubles for evening? So all the same idea, but as soon as you understand or give other people metrics, you don't dating, you analyze and you start to calculate your business plan. What for you is business plan?
Everything. Took out expenses.
So don't try to think too complicated. I know that you're smart. I'm here to talk about business like simplifying everything. So at least business plan. Ask the question, what, where, what our idea, and then we calculate it. Yes? Does it prevent us? If we calculate, understand it doesn't work from Excel point. Does it happen? In most cases, yes. So, and if we don't do it, what it means? If we don't do it, it means that we are currently not enough smart to launch our company. Because all business books find out and understand how this process happens and how to launch company. It's not a unique data or unique knowledge. But the problem is that a lot of people just don't do it. They do believe in their ideas that they're ready to launch here at once. And it's a dead mistake. So let's go next step. The next point is called infant. Why do you think it's infant?
What do you mean, infant?
Like baby who has just born. All this baby can do is cry. It's annoying. It requires all your time. And in this way you are not happy twice comparing with salary and hiring.
Because you invest, and you still can't get enough profit?
I think no. Profit, like money we talk, it's a metrics to calculate results. If we're smart enough, we understand that we have at least financial model which show us how much resources we need to come here. Infant is the stage when you launch and you try to pass this way according to your business plan. If something goes wrong, it's look like, okay, we believe in our idea, we are not ready to die yet, we're going to change something. Infant, it's analogy for me, it's that it's very hard time because it's like a baby. It requires all your time. This way you can't do anything else except thinking, doing, working, for your business. It's important to understand, because when we are here in the hiring, the work day finished, we think about something else. We are free. When you are launch your business, all your time. And the difference is that on this stage, what we are called courtship or dating, it's like we are talking, we are asking, we are trying to calculate it, but we are not in a risk stage. We do nothing. We don't accept the risk. And what happened with entrepreneurship? If this stage not requires a lot of time of entrepreneur, or entrepreneur just pass the stage, he knows he don't have enough love for his big idea, and he doesn't or she doesn't have enough energy to go next way, next step. But next step, it's really unpleasant time for all business. And in most cases, it requires, why it's not so pleasant? It's required a lot of efforts. And on this stage, you really check your idea, because you don't have yet financial results. You don't know, does your financial model or plan will works, but you understand that something what happens with you requires a lot of your time. And for this reason, I think it's important to see about analogy like, for example, if you fall in love, can you do anything else except please give me feedback.
No.
In most cases, no. For example, if we are talking about life balance, have you heard about life balance, that you should have enough money, enough health, good job, friends, activities, hobbies, and you all balance it. So it's very good to have a balance here. In hiring, in general, you have a balance unless your aspirations. So if the way you live is good enough for you and salary vault is perfect, settles this problem. You are balanced. But you always should understand that in infant, no balance at all. So it's like a mat, you jump and you fall unless something happens and you fly. My question was, why do you really think that I'm not qualified enough to launch a restaurant right now? From qualification level, I think you are qualified more than. Let's discuss it.
You don't have experience.
I think that we are afraid.
Afraid.
Yes.
I accept afraid, and on the chat we can see when you're dating, you're afraid, but you do next step. When you confirm your idea can at least X% to survive, you go to next steps. To pass your fears, it's a good answer to pass the stage dating completely. Check everything that you want, think about, and I think that our mental, I'm talking about mind, needs a time. Different people have different time for it, but mind have accept the idea. And it means for you simply have to spend X time for this. For example, if you spend a year from here for thinking about how your restaurant would look like, in a year you will be able to launch it. You know everything about it because your level of qualification, of understanding, like economist, like what you said, you can make evaluation for the company. So the knowledge is good enough. If you don't know something, you will find it. And for this reason, I just want you to think that you always don't know how it works. Nobody knows what happens next. And you don't ready always. But if you pass the stage, you have enough information and your mind will allocate the required information for you. And for this reason, don't think that to launch business is quite important to be absolutely professional in this field. For example, how to reduce risk? We can look at this graph this way. For example, we work for a restaurant. So we are executive of restaurant. For this reason, of course, we know how it works. We reduce the risk that when we launch our restaurants, we knew something, we don't know something. But the problem is, just copycat don't work. Copycat don't work. You're always adaptive. If you, in our examples, get the restaurant, but you're mistaken with the place, you failed.
So what is copycat?
Copycat? Clone. When you just copy a business model, you just copy and launch the same. Understand? What do you think, what else could be except you're not sure that you're ready to launch? So we called it fear. Okay, sometimes we're afraid something. My point is that it's not enough to stop. You should go next. What else could be? Any ideas? I think that if we return to examples when we start learning of skiing, someone explained us what we should to do. It doesn't mean that we knew how to do it, yes? So what we do? We just try. Yes? If you have, or maybe you are smart enough, then you check your business idea like a small step to try, you always reach a goal. And I think as soon as you understand how to check your idea with low risk or low sum of money, because in most cases you have to pay on this stage, you spend money. On infant you can just asking, talking about your idea. On infant stage you spend money because it's not pleasant. But you should think always how I can check my idea, what should I do for low cost to check that it works. And during our courses we will talk in details which practice in current world exists to check as much as possible. So it's the way how startups reach the goals. Which metrics should we say? Which questions we should ask? I think that we stop there. We will return. Maybe we check next step, but not in details, and go further. When we need these graphs, we in return. But you should understand that these stages, it's like a Bible, what happens to you when you launch. For example, if you get time, read this book, it would be a predictions of your future. If you understand what should be next, you reduce the risk. And it's very important. Because in my practice, a lot of people don't think and don't know nothing about it. And for this reason, they have no chance to survive, or they make 2 mistakes, or maybe it hurts much. It's not the best practice. You are in a very good period of your time. You're smart, you understand, and you have an opportunity to think about how you will maybe build your life. And if you choose to switch, you always think which stages I should pass, ready I should pass it, and you have a very good chance to succeed. So let's go next. The question is business model as DNA of business. Please tell me, what is business model for you?
Everything.
What? Everything?
It's just because in another subject we learn what is business model in a very deep way.
Yeah, that's right. So I accept that you know it in details. But I think that the target of our course, understanding it in the simplest way, that you always know what it means, what you should think about business model to survive. So, as you know what is business model, what is it?
It includes a lot of factors like marketing, finance, the concept of the product.
Business, it's a complicated thing. Let's simplify.
Ideas with goals and steps.
Ideas.
With goals and steps to attain it.
Let's think about business model as a potential which your business can give you as a final results. For example, so it's like the view we try to think on a business before we launch anything. For example, what we start our course from? Want to be rich, sell much. Yeah? So it's the easiest way to come to money. We're talking about that salary, freelance, and your company, own business, and entrepreneurship. It's different way. It's not the same, but different profits and benefits in the results. So, if you're talking about business model, let's talk about how it could expand. Because why I write here that business models is DNA of your business is that, for example, if you build, if you create successful restaurant, what is potential of growth?
A chain of restaurants.
Chain. Would you spend how difficult to open a new item in this way is in this chain? So is it easy way or not?
With every restaurant, it becomes easier and easier.
Easier, but it requires at least new resources, and it's not easy way. But in most cases, people go this strategy because it's simple and understandable strategy. And in most business, it's the only way to expand. Agree? When you are here and you understand that it doesn't matter, would you jump in restaurant or multi-billion dollars company which you create, the funny way will be the same. And you spend the same number of resources, your energy, your infant will be crying the same. It doesn't matter, will you create a multi-billion dollars company or just you open something small. So maybe different resources, maybe different efforts, but in general, always support and growth easier than lunch. Like baby born. It's the most difficult stage for parents, especially for mom. So, if we're talking about DNA, for example, people can't fly. Do you accept? Mm-hmm. What's the constraints? Why we can't do it?
We do not have such cells in our DNA.
DNA, yeah. Who have, okay, it doesn't matter, but the question is simple. When you see on your business, or maybe you analyze another business, one important addition to the final task, don't try to do it on your own business. So it's a project. So try to think like entrepreneur, like to understand the core of the business when you can see with your own eyes. So if DNA is business model is DNA, so it's better to build something huge. It means that in an infant stage, even on a dating stage, you understand, for example, I'm ready to pass this way, but the target must be very high. And the higher target, the more changing around you have to create. Sometimes you will find out that your business and your understanding what you're going to do is not enough to reach your goal. And in this case, what you should do? First, maybe you get your core idea, but you imagine what would be a little bit higher and more tremendous than what you understand right now. And the good idea, always think about business model like its potential for growth. Why we're talking on this course about e-business, e-commerce? Because this business model expands much quicker and have much more potential for growth. And for this reason, may I say, IT company is much profitable. Nowadays, a commodity. It doesn't matter what's the difference, but potential for growth much better. And I think that if you would like to be an entrepreneur, your first project must be something on the land. Not so huge because you don't have enough experience and resources to create something new, absolutely. And for this reason, restaurant is not a bad idea. Believe me. And when we'll be talking about teams, entrepreneur always think, or not always, but must think this way. If you don't know something, you spend 20 years to to become absolutely best professional in this particular point. But you don't have this time. Around you will exist person who has already spent these 20 years and has absolutely high level market qualification for this task. And one of the key competence of entrepreneur to hire your weak competence. Do you agree? Give me examples. So we are talking about restaurant. Really? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Some feedback. Do you like the conversation during our class? Do you see the meaning? Because I don't have the purpose to give you a knowledge. You have a professors who has this knowledge in theory. I try to talk always to you about very simple things. But it will, I hope, gives you understanding how it works and what you should do next. And if in a year someone will open a restaurant, I will prize you. Because the key idea is that don't afraid, but don't be stupid. And when you say we are not qualified enough, it's the same like I'm still stupid. Because you should think only one way. Do I have assets to buy professional who will reduce the risk in this sphere? So, thank you for your time. Our next class would be Wednesday. It will be a seminar, yeah, and we will talk about Astorwald business model. So, do you know what is it? Astorwald business model canvas. Okay. It's a very good idea to explain others what is business model of your business. Thank you and good luck.